pleasant good morning to you, students. A pleasant good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday's episode, the midweek episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. You know, when I listen to that theme song, it just was bouncing. Thing is very bouncy, very catchy. Put you in the mood to sit back and to listen to what we have to say. Credible, valuable, indispensable information that you're going to get. Yes, welcome to the midweek's episode. Hope you had a restful night. Hope you're looking forward to a productive rest of the week. Here we are again. The Lord has blessed us to be here this day. Another great day that the Lord has made. It is Wednesday, the 10th day of September in the year 2025. And here we are again. I have to be careful when I'm calling these dates and names, you know. Apparently on the last occasion, I said, in my attempt to say Adriana Young, I said Adriana Thomas or something like that. I wasn't conscious of it, and I didn't look at the comments to correct it. So when I was reviewing it after I saw that, so my apologies to you students for giving that wrong name. But some people did come to say, they did comment that it was a mistake. The slip of the tongue is not the fault of the mind. All of us make mistakes. All of us. We are human beings. We make mistakes. When we tell Guyana is 83 square miles, that was clearly a mistake. But it's how you react after the mistake. They tell you, you are not listening. No. I would never do that. I make mistakes, and when you recognize that you make mistakes, according to what CC would tell us that, like we should say, mea culpa. You have to go down and you say, I am sorry, so I'm apologizing for the mistake I made with the calling of that name on Monday. So yes, today is the 10th, another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. We should never take life for granted, right? Because, you know, we're telling them steady, you know, man disappoint, God disappoint. So all them with the racial triumphalism. And I say that because when you look at some of the things going on social media, oh man, they're having a field day. And I don't know where is the ERC with some of these comments, racial comments that they're making on social media. The ERC seems to have gone asleep. But let me see what is going to happen. Because, you know, it's not everybody can take them things, you know. And when people retaliate, then they come after you. They say, old people say they don't hear when first bell ring. They don't hear when the first bell rings, right? So be careful with your comments. And that is why I have said to students here, be respectful on this platform with your comments. Because if we see you getting disrespectful, especially if you using expletives, the comment is you're going to be warned, the comment is going to be removed, and if you continue, you're going to be banned. We're not encouraging that on this platform. There's another platform, I think that on the mornings, right? Where they cuss up on the Duasati. This is not that platform. This is for educational purpose, information and education. So yes, my colleague CC is in the studio, and I am pleased to announce, as I'm sure he will do also, that he has not encountered any technical difficulty in getting here this morning. So yes, we have a lot to tell you. You know, things are evolving so rapidly that when you sit down and you say, well, look, there are some stuff that are left over. From the last program, we're gonna deal with it. Things happen, and some of these things demand urgent attention, or at least demands that we bring it to you immediately so you can see what's going on. So yes, here we are today, the 10th day of September 2025, another great day that the Lord has made. Midweek, let's rejoice, let's be glad in it, let's continue to be safe. By now, we know the format, roll call, announcements, and then we're going to move into it. I have indicated to you before, I'm indicating again, that the roll call now, you will deal with the people who come early. Because we have hundreds and hundreds of people, and I have been persuaded to dispense with the lengthy roll call and to deal with those who come in very early. So at least for now, that is what we're going to do. That is what I am going to do. I'm going to do the roll call. You know, the program was scheduled at 7 this morning. And even that we are reviewing, you know, I'm going to communicate that to you at some stage. Even that, I think, let me tell you already, those who are here, from next week, we're likely to adjust the timings when the gates are going to be open, right? Because now for the 11 o'clock program, we open it at 7. From next week, we're likely to adjust that maybe to 8 o'clock in the morning, right? 3 hours before, and we will see how that goes. So yes, students. Let me give you all the students who are here. 7 o'clock it was scheduled. And again, before I do that, let me again, every time I got to remind you to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. When you subscribe, there's a little bell. They call that the notification button. Hit that notification button, and you're going to get the notification when anything is published. Anything at all is published, you're going to get the notification. And then if you're a Facebooker, we have some Facebookers, follow the page on Facebook. The page is by the same name, Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence, and you're going to get the notices when things are posted, right? So, all right. Having said that, when we went, when the gates were open this morning, let me give you all the first set of students. First, the ones who came in within the first minute or so. Jakey was number 1. Then we had Wayne, number 2. Then we have Evanlina. They all came at the same time, but this is how they're listed at 7 o'clock. Ricky Smith, Paulette, Ian, Kenneth from Maryland, Carl, Aubrey, Sean, upstate New York, Ezzy. Then it was Tessa. Tessa got to see already from Orlando. Terrence, this is Terrence Carto. Wayne from the UK. Peter, Carlton. They came one. I'm giving you the first minute. Carlton, my squad mate. Diane. Then it was Janella. Vibert, this is Vibert Lawson. Leon, Gibbo is here early. Earl, Paulette, Puran from Essequibo Coast. Then Aubrey, Winston from California. Joan from New Amsterdam. Esla, Brian, Dexter. They all came within the first minute of the school gate opening. And then when the school doors were open, let me run it through to see who were the first set of people in the class, from the Facebookers basically. We have a lot of people on YouTube. There is a Facebook. I told you how to gravitate, you must try to gravitate to YouTube. Then the first man, not unexpected, is Edward Charles first. Then we had Junior. Then we had Simone. Carlton is always there early too. Then we had Jeanette, Joyce, and Altia. And the list goes on. Stian, Wills, and the list goes on. Darwin, Kerry Ann, Steve, and on and on and on and on. Yeah, the students were there. Let me get the announcements, and then we're going to move on. Again, today is 529 days since Sergeant Alex Vaughan was killed. They say friendly fire by one of his colleagues, and we are hearing nothing yet. Now that we have a new government, now that we have some changes that are expected, you had elections last week, and the president has been sworn in, and after that, the president swore in the vice president. Say, man, come back again. So tomorrow you're going to hear a story there. Mark Phillips, Lion Mark Phillips, has been sworn in as the prime minister for second term, and we are waiting to hear who are the others. I noted with some interest that there's a slight deviation from 2020. Because on Sunday, the 2nd of August, 2020, when the president was sworn in, the vice president was sworn in, the prime minister was sworn in. I think immediately after the swearing, the attorney general, prime minister sworn in for second term. And I always remember when they swore in Sam Hines as the prime minister back in 1992. I arranged, along with Gail Teixeira, they don't remember that made them thing, I arranged a venue for him to be sworn in. He was sworn in? He was sworn in Chetty Jagan's yard in New Haven, Bel Air. In the yard. When Lilo said, slow, go down there and see if everything all right. I go down there, you get fall running around, shit up, you fall shit all over the place. Some men that always a big curry in the thing. I had to get to work. I had to get David Simon, 9336 Simon from TSU, right? To go down there with flagpole and clean up the place with, Yeah, they don't remember all them things. They're ungrateful, ingratitude, nimakaram, right? So Salmons was sworn in the yard of the President Jagan. And that is why perhaps he behaved in the manner he behaved for all the years he was there as Prime Minister, then President, then Prime Minister again, right? We got to remind y'all about these things. We got to remind you. So, Vaughn, yeah, 529 days. So we had the swearing. Speculation is rife as to who will be the new cabinet, who will comprise the new cabinet. See a lot of things published, but we will wait and see. And who are going to be the members of parliament. We'll talk about that a little later. And then we told you, we mentioned about this Rhymesec accident. Wednesday, there was a fatal accident. They had not reported on it. But we did tell you that the reports were coming in. This is confirmed that you had this fatal accident, I think either Wednesday morning, where they say hit and run, some motorcycle, some pedal cyclists killed. The carnage continue. PPPC, piss poor performance continues. Or you can change the C, piss poor performance and corruption. We're going to talk about the corruption aspect in a little while, right? And then, I read yesterday, the death of Popular, who used to be a popular America Street businessman, Carl Boyce. America Street, Wall Street, as they call it in Guyana, where all the money exchange. Back in the day, Carl Boyce was the man. Anything you wanted, he had a store on the southern half. That's between Water Street and the street immediately east of Water Street. I can't remember what is the name now. There's not Langdon. I can't remember the name of the street. But he had his place there, and everything, there's a place to go. Carl Boyce was a place. You want clothes, you want to buy all sort of thing, right? All sort of thing was Carl Boyce. So we learned that Carl Boyce recently transitioned, and I want to take this opportunity to express condolences to the relatives, friends, colleagues of the he was really famous, Carl Boyce was the go-to man in Georgetown a piece of time. Money, foreign exchange, everything. It was Carl Boyce. The older folks, I'm sure, would know what I'm talking about. So condolences. America Street, yes. But I'm trying to remember the name of the street. America Street runs east to west. Then to the west is Water Street. And to the east, I can't remember the name of that street. Yeah? No. Submarine, I know that is America Street. America Street runs from Avenue of the Republic right to Water Street. I mean, it's a country by, but I know tongue a little bit. I walk long in tongue. But there's a street that runs north to south. The street runs north to south. You're coming from the east, is Avenue of the Republic, then that street, then Water Street. I can't remember. People said Water Street, but there is not Water Street. People said America Street. America Street runs, if I remember correctly as a country by, east to west, right? Langdon, that might be Langdon Street. Yeah, it might be Langdon Street, right? Langdon. Thank you. We got some real tongue people. Langdon Street, is it? Langdon. You got right through to Demico. Yeah, so Carl was it. Langdon. Thank you, students. Thank you. You see, I'm a country boy. I'm a little old now, so I'm remembering all them things. Yeah. Birthday greetings. We don't have any birthday to announce. I mean, they got people celebrating birthday. I'm sure we don't have any to announce. But in terms of upcoming birthdays, I want to send advance birthday greetings to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Lloyd Alvin Smith, the wrong man. Tomorrow is his natal day. Lloyd Alvin Smith. You know you're Alvin Smith, but Alvin is his middle name. The wrong man, right? Fantastic police officer, uncorrupted after all them years. And even when he left, I know now he's in the church and so on. He has given himself to the Lord and so on. Congratulations on your natal day, Mr. Smith, a man who I always looked up to, right? Looked up to. You can't corrupt Smithy. People know that is why he got the name the wrong man, right? This is the wrong man to mess with, right? Straightforward. So yeah, wrong man is celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Also celebrating tomorrow is someone who is on this program from time to time, Leon Simon. I think side number was 97, 78. We were all in the TSU in the late 70s there. And then when they formed the TSU Borby's branch, I think Sai and a lot of people, Trim and them boys went to TSUB at Adventure, right? Sai was there and so on. So yes, right? Yeah, I'm explaining, Christopher, oh, we got the name wrong, man. People used to say, that is the wrong man to mess with. Wrong man. Don't mess with Smithy. There's a famous story of when they had a robbery at LBI. Old payroll stolen at LBI. And then Smithy and them recovered the money. Right? And Smithy slept in his office with the money. Nobody can touch a cent. He stayed there with the money, and then the accountant took it to the bank when it was to go. We knew these are people of character, of integrity. You can't fault them. And I got some questions I got to ask you about his stint at the police service commission. One of these days, I'm going to ask. But I know Mr. Smith was a man who was incorruptible, still is. Incorruptible. The wrong man. Right? He was crime chief and all of that. So, Smithy, all the best to you, Mr. Smith. And as I said, those are the advanced birthday greetings. Let me bring in my colleague. I got to talk something about cricket, I got to talk something because I read a letter today in the Kaicho News, and I want to talk something about it. But before that, let me bring in my colleague, Mr. Conway. CC, welcome.
Good morning. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. I want to join with you in wishing Mr. Alvin Smith happy birthday, which will be tomorrow. And I always remember him. I always look up to him. I always look up to him. And I remember an incident in vigilance where he lodged, in the contraband days, he lodged a bag containing, and he counted the potatoes, a bag containing so much potatoes. And when he went back to collect the potatoes, he had a bag containing this exact amount of potatoes. But he discovered that, hey, he had a whole set of big potatoes. So what them guys do, they take out the big potatoes and go to the market and find some small potatoes, and then put them in a set there. So he had his bag containing the X amount of potatoes, but the size reduced tremendously. You can't trust police. Police will find all kind of ways of beating the system. Let me say a couple of other things. That I went to NIS yesterday to collect my voucher. You get a 6 months voucher. There are quite a number of people there, and I must admit that I was impressed with the way they handle things there, the way they talk to people. The courtesy was there, and they were very helpful. But hear the story. And a woman came up to me, a big woman, no little girl, a little beautiful woman. She was wonderful. And said, I remember you, Mr. Conway. In 1980, we were on a supervisor's course at the Public Service Ministry Training Center. I think it's a Red House now, they call it there. And we reminisce, and then we talk over a story. We all some of us went early the morning before the opening. And there was a guy helping to fix up the chairs and put up the rostrum and all kind of thing there, And one of them girls said, you were the janitor? And he said, oh yes, I am the janitor. And when the program started, we realized that he was the coordinator of the program. And during the program, he lectured on several subjects in relation to supervision. And believe it or not, guess who was the guy? That guy was Aubrey Norton. Yes, Aubrey Norton on our supervision course. He was the coordinator and the lecturer. 1980, she reminded me, of our training there in 1980. I was a corporal stationed at headquarters, and they sent me on the training program. And I want to shout out to Pastor Charles, West Coast Barbies. I haven't heard from him in a while, but I want to believe that he's still praying for us, and he's still praying for the Guyanese. He's still praying for the nation. So let me shout out to Pastor Charles, and also one of our students, Paul, you know him. We call him Big Bird. Big Bird, I haven't heard from you for a long while. I hope you're still flying about the place, and doing what you gotta do. So, Big Bird, I want to shout out to you and hope that you got a good day today. And I got a piece of equipment. My son Kepler came yesterday and he said, Daddy, I see you getting some difficulty with your technical difficulty and otherwise. He said maybe apart from Pegasus, there might be other things involved. So he came and he brought me a brand new computer. He said, use it. So this is what I'm using. Maybe it's payback time because I saw him through to the University of Guyana where he got a degree in project management in business administration, and then he went to the University of West Indies and he got a master's in project management. So maybe he's paying back. I'm not looking forward for anything, but as long as he's going to pay back, I'm going to accept. I know he's treating his mother well, but we did invest in him. We spent our hard-earned cash. We had no gold scholarship. We spent our hard-earned cash for our children, and I repeat, our children to go to university and graduate. And they went. They did us proud and the thing. So Kepler, I know you're going to listen later on. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, let me say this. they might tease you, but the ladies. Let me say this. The fact that this boy has excelled academically. I remember a story. I remember a story of a former West Indies. He was on the 19 cricketer, and then he was a senior cricketer, fast bowler. I got Carly name. He made the West Indies on the 19 team. Guyanese to go to Pakistan back in the day, and his father took him to the airport. And the father was so excited that if John make West Indies on the 19 team and so on. And then he saw the late great Skip Roberts. And then he said to Skip, excuse me, sir, this man was a police. My son going to Pakistan, West Indies on the 19 team. And without a break, without a beat, Skip Roberts turned to him and said, congratulations. He must have taken after his mother. And father, I said not easy. I would never forget it. As I always tease him, man. When I see Skip Roberts tell you, say, yeah, congratulations. He must have taken after his mother. Right? So I'm not saying that your son's academic excellence is because of his mother. But I'm just telling you what Skip Roberts told this policeman. And you're not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so.
I will remain silent.
Yeah. Now, let me move on. So I said tomorrow is 9/11. The day the world changed. It was September the 11th, 2001, I think it was, when the terrorists attacked several places in the U.S. World Trade Center, Pentagon, Pennsylvania plane crash. That day, the world changed. And this is one of the days when people will ask you, where were you when that unfolded? I remember very, very well. I was a commander in Barbies, and I had to go to the place there on the Baghdam Road to get therapy. A few days or so before, I fell from my veranda. I was trying to fix an antenna, and the landing and the banister that I was standing on broke. I fell a good distance, about 10 feet. Tried to break the fall, fell on my shoulder. Immediately, I went to St. Joseph. I lived right opposite traffic headquarters. And apart from a little brief concussion, nothing. But I had to get therapy because I had problem with the shoulder. And I was there when you heard the news about this thing, about this plane. At first, everybody thought it was a crash. But while we were looking at the TV, we saw when the second plane went into the second tower. Then we realized it was no accident. It was no plane crash. It was a terrorist attack. That day, they changed the world forever, because even now, when you're going through airport, all the security and thing came into being after that. All the security arrangement that you have when you're going into government buildings, well, in Guyana get security, federal buildings in the U.S. and all those places as a result of 9/11. As a result of 9/11. And tomorrow I'm sure they're going to have the usual ceremony. Because one of the things I saw yesterday or sometime, yesterday morning news, they still have hundreds, thousands of bodies that have not been uh, um, that they're discovered but has not been identified, have not been properly identified. So, that was really, really a real sad day, 9/11. So tomorrow is the anniversary, and we must always remember that. The day the world changed. Osama bin Laden was the man they say responsible, and eventually he was taken out. He was taken out. And you had so many other terrorist activities, but all those other activities paled into insignificance uh, uh, um, when compared to 9/11. CC, where were you when that disaster took place?
I was the commander ENF division in charge of region 1, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I flowed from Letem to Ogle, and I went straight home. I used to live next door to we were neighbors. And I put on the television, and there I saw a plane going into one of the tower. And I said, hey, this is a movie. Oh, they showing movie this time of the day. Only to realize that before then the plane had gone into the tower and thing had already happened. And then NCN was playing it back. So there's how I remember the 911.
Yeah, and there's a correction. The news that I got saw yesterday, the body fragments are still to be identified. I'm not going to use DNA. They find bones and all this type of thing. They still have not identified the victims to whom those bones belong. Well, yeah, the day that the world changed, the day that changed the entire world, right? And we must always remember it. Guyanese, like everything else. I remember there's a Guyanese cricketer, Nizam Hafiz, was one of the victims of that disaster. He was I think he worked in the World Trade Center, and he perished in that disaster. That place I visited, that was a tourist attraction. I remember some years ago, in the late 90s, I went up there, all the way up to as far as they would allow you to go. And I went up there, so I remember that. That is not a day. We must always remember that. We must always remember. Somebody told me, in terms of the restrictions, you no longer have to remove your shoes. But it is not universal. I traveled through Ghana airport last week, and you have to remove your shoe. I know, yes, you travel some other places because there's no longer, that's one of the restrictions that came in after because of the shoe bomber. A man had put explosive in the shoe in an attempt to bring down the aircraft. So thereafter, you have to take off your shoe. And they eased that restriction some weeks ago. But going to Guyana, at least up to when I traveled there last week, you still got to take off your shoe. You still have to take off your shoe. So always behind, man. Always behind. Always behind. Right? So let me move on. The man with the shoe bomber, one of the students telling me, I love my students, man. Richard Reed was the man who had the bomb in the shoe we discover, and Richard Reed was that man, right? Somebody saying the Zama Freeze worked at the Pentagon. I'm not sure that's right. I think he was at the World Trade Center in New York. But somebody is saying at Pentagon. I do not think that is right, but y'all can do the research. And we inform and we educate, so we inform and educate. One student is saying Nizam Hafiz, the former cricketer who died on that day, they say, my recollection is that he was at the Twin Tower. But they're saying that he might have been at the Pentagon. I don't know. Now let me move on as we talk on Nizam Hafiz and cricket. He was known for his performance as a cricketer, right? Now, I read a letter in today's Kaicho News. Somebody basically lambasting the president for some comments he made on Sunday night with Ian Bishop. They got CPL going on, the Caribbean Premier League going on in Guyana now and Barbados. Sunday night, Guyana played, who they played? Take Trinidad and Tobago. No, who they played? They played somebody Sunday night. Can't even remember. But the president was in the commentator's booth. And let me be honest with y'all. Let me be honest. For the time I listen, I watching cricket. I tell you, watching cricket. I don't want to hear politics and everything when I watching cricket. So for the time I heard the voice and I looked up and I saw it was the president, I muted the television, so I didn't hear what he said. So I'm only reporting what the the letter writer wrote in today's Kaicho News. The president made some comment about the about what all the people legislate West Indies cricket is legislation. In other words, maybe the ICC and so on legislate and put West Indies cricket into pressure. No, I said no. I've been around cricket long before the president because I am much older than him. I saw my first test match, England versus the West Indies, in 1968. So I know if he saw them, they're even born yet. So, and since then, I've been following cricket. And let me tell you my honest opinion as part of the problem in cricket in Guyana and the West Indies. Part of the problem is facilities. People always tell you you have a lot of talent and you have a lot of things and so on. Facilities, if you recall, the older folks will recall, and let me tell you all, Guyana, when in the 8 day of shell shield cricket and so on, and even much later, we had, let me write down some of the venues. We had Border as a first class venue, Everest, Enmore, Blairmont, Kanji, Port Moran, Albion, Skeldon, Hampton Court, and other facilities. Facilities where first class, not first division, first class cricket was played. For example, at Albion, do you know, if my memory serves me correct, the first one-day international that West Indies played in the West Indies was at Albion Cricket Ground. Was at Albion Cricket Ground. Somebody say no song. Vanessa, check your system. Was at Albion Cricket Ground. We had all the facilities. Hampton Court and the Essequibo Coast came and Sankar Ground. Okay. What you have now? You have cow pastures. Many of those grounds are cow pastures. And I maintain, especially with a game, a sport like cricket, if you don't have proper facilities, you cannot produce proper players. If you don't have proper facilities, you can't produce proper players. For example, again, Mr. President, we don't have a single indoor facility in Guyana. Don't call LBI no indoor facility. There is no proper indoor facility. No proper indoor facility. Even in Guyana, and I think there's one in Barbados. How do you talk about development of your players and all of that? Forget about the management for now. I'm saying that you have to have proper facilities. I had the privilege and honor to be with the West Indies on the 19 team in 2016 when they won the Under 19 World Cup in Bangladesh. And when I went to Maipur, Bangladesh is supposed to be a poor country, and I saw the facilities there. Oh my Lord, indoor nets, proper indoor nets with many lanes, an adjoining ground for people to practice and warm up, right? Hostel for people to stay and all of those type of things. So that are the type of thing we got to look at. We have to look at facilities. Look, when I was growing up, going to school, we had school cricket, very competitive school cricket. Schools within the district, then they get into zone and all these type of things to identify players and to bring them through the system. What has happened now? What has happened? So if the president and these politicians want to get involved in cricket, those are some of the things I believe that they should be looking at. The orientation now of the young cricketers, they have what they call kiddies cricket. When you look at the kiddies cricket, everybody with a bat trying to lash the ball as far as they could lash it. No defense and all that type of thing. The orientation is hit the ball as far as you could hit it because of this T20 thing. I am not talking about those senior players now who gravitate towards the T20 because it's money. They have a limited professional life, and I can't blame them for gravitating there. But let me look at the thing holistically. The management might be bad, I agree. The management of the cricket, and not only management of the West Indies cricket, right in Guyana, piss poor management, corruption allegation about the cricket. And let me remind you all, I'd like to do my research, I'd like to do my research when I come to talk about these things. Let me tell you, that look, Mr. President, you remember my name, Pretty Paul Jagobin? Pretty Paul Jagobin, who was a member of the Guyana Cricket Board. Let me read. This is 2010, May 27, Stabrook News. Following an acid attack on him on Tuesday night, Assistant Treasurer of the Guyana Cricket Board and the Demerara Cricket Board, Pretty Paul Jagobin, says he plans to resign. Jagobin believes that the attack was prompted by the fact that he has been very vocal about malpractices within the Guyana Cricket Board. The debate about these malpractices, he told Stabrook News, from his hospital bed yesterday, boiled over at the board's most recent statutory meeting held last Friday. Quote, after I got you, what has happened to me, once I get you, after I get you, what has happened to me, I plan to quit, end of quote. Jagobin told this newspaper. The man said that if this is the result of his honesty, then he doesn't know what could possibly happen to him in the future. Just after 9, hey, what happened to you? Let me read what happened to you. Just after 9 p.m. last night, or that night, as Jagobin walked away from a restaurant following a body, he was attacked by a strange man. The man asked him, why you don't leave my friend alone? Quote, that is, why you don't leave my friend alone? And proceeded to pitch acid in his face. The cricket administrator said he was on his way to his Clanbrook, East Coast Demerara home and decided to stop for a beer. He spent a short time at the location. His friend, he recalled, was walking a few paces in front and did not see what happened. At first, Jagobin said his friend thought that it was beer that the stranger had thrown in his face. It wasn't until he started screaming out that the substance was burning him that the companion realized that it was possibly acid. It was his companion, he said, who rushed him to the Georgetown Public Hospital. He arrived there sometime after 10 p.m., was subsequently treated and admitted to the burn section unit. Jagobin's chest and face were discolored as a result of the acid, and he complained about difficulty seeing. He was wearing his glasses at the time of the attack, he explained, and this might have saved his eyes from being completely damaged. Meanwhile, another cricket board member told Stabrook News that he believes the attack was meant as a warning. Recently, irregularities in the board's affairs have been noticed. These issues, he said, have caused a rift in the cricket board. He said Jagobin has since reported the matter to the police. It is being investigated by ranks in C Division. The injured man said he did not get a good look at the attacker's face, right? And then it goes on to say the attack on Jagobin has been denounced by several other persons and so on. A man in the cricket board calling out irregularities, they call. You know, they don't use the word corruption. They use the word irregularities. And shortly after his attack, people throw acid in the face. And you know, somebody asked him if he's still alive. No, he's not alive. Although he said he would resign, he did resign, and then he ran back for office. And then in 2021, let me read again in 2021, right? Pretty Paul Jagobin, the recently elected treasurer of the Guyana Cricket Board, died in a road accident at Madhya, Region 8 on April 1, 2021. He had a road accident. He was working with something that going in there, vehicle ran off the road and he died. And people have always said it was suspicious. So you're talking about cricket. You're talking about cricket. Let me tell you this. I'm bringing CC just now. I got to get a little bat in here, CC. This is cricket. I got to get a little bat in. As I've said, I followed cricket for a long time. I remember one of the first senior administrator of cricket, I remember, was, I think it was Kenny Wishart, after Uma Stan was named. Then we had, I know at some stage, you had Naam McLean, who was then the chief of staff. Balram Raghabir, commissioner of police. Chetram Singh, right? And then I think after Chetram Singh, it was Ramzi Ali. And they're wrong. What they did to Ramzi Ali is still around. He's a stolen product. He might be uncomfortable with me speaking, but the truth can sometimes be uncomfortable because he was a victim. When Chetram Singh finally decided to demit office, because over the years, if you check, the presidents of the Guyana Cricket Board hold that office for years and years and years. Chetram, I think he had a problem and so on, decided to demit, and Ramsey Ali was elected. But they had a cabal, gang up. They made use of the police to harass Ramsey Ali. They're going to sort his house outside. I think they sort him a book. Look, they think it's too nasty, the nasty. And some of the same ones who are talking now were part of that. May I call your name? You know, they like to say, call your name, the Sue. Why you investigate, you're going to find out. They harassed Ramsey and Ramsey resigned. I am saying this without any fear of contradiction. Many of them who are around cricket now, they're not there because of the love of the game. Perhaps the exception is Ilbert Foster from Borbies. They're not there for the love. They're there for the perks, to go up on the thing and they fly the director and all this. They're not there because of the love of the game. They're not there because of the love. Some of them ain't got a clue what is going on. What? They get a trip here, when they get cricket like now, CPL, they get a free ticket and so on, and they go there and they enjoy themselves. So, Mr. President, if you really want to talk about the falling standards or the falling standard of West Indies cricket, all of those things can be examined. And if you, as the president, really, really interested in raising the standard of cricket, I believe that you have to look at facilities. How come you get a country like Guyana, you know, and people in places in West Indies, not a single proper indoor facility? Not a single. So if rain fall, people can't practice. You gotta go in the gym, chocolate iron and so on. I have been to again, I had the privilege of touring around. You go to Lord's, the famous Lord's cricket ground in London, the nursery and the nets. Big enough lane, see them little youth man coming there and knocking up and so on. You can go in the nets and you can practice rain or shine. You can practice, and most of the grounds have facilities like that. We ain't got none. If rain fall, you can't do nothing. You didn't even get, well, maybe you get one private gym and all that everything. You go to the same Bangladesh, you will see the gym that they have there. Gym with trainers there all the time. Trainers there all the time to train people. So that was the thing you all have to look at. Everybody, they get CARICOM, get cricket management committee, and they get all of that, and they get I saying that one of the things, those things are necessary. Don't get me wrong, those things are necessary, but also necessary is to have proper facilities and proper structure for the cricket. We get cases where people coming through, the structure is not proper, they go on to test level, and then you discover that they don't get certain qualities and all of that. Oh, people get into test level and with all them faults and all them everything. The system is broken. The system is broken, and while the West Indies Cricket Board or Cricket West Indies must share a lot of the blame, I believe a lot of the governments too, because you are the ones who should really seek to have at your local level to get proper competition and proper facilities so that these youths can emerge and be cricketer. And before I bring in Mr. Conway, let me get all this joke. Because a man's son, you ask his son, say, you want to be a cricketer. So the father said, why you want to be cricketer? What you want to be cricketer? If you want to turn cricketer, you got to buy bat, I got to buy pad, I got to buy box, I got to buy all sort of thing. Why you don't take up swimming? All I got to buy is a boxer. Right? So facilities, buddy, facilities. See, I know you're a cricket lover too. Let me hear your take on what I've just said, man.
Yeah, man, I am a cricket lover and I listen cricket. So watch cricket. We watch our first test matches at the same time. And I think Gary was that made a century and then a 90-something the second innings or thereabout. And I also read a lot of books for cricket. If you come and check my library, you can see I get a whole set of about over 20 cricket books. Richards, Lloyd, Kanai, Laro, Marshall, Shane Warne. I could just read out, and those are books that I bought, and I read them. But at the grassroots level, if you want to start, you got to start at the grassroots level. The cricket grounds. I remember in those days when we started that they used to get good grounds. Remember the estates? The estates used to get a good ground. The estate even brought in, I think, was Clyde Walcott as a coach, And then we discover a whole set of cricketers that you got to deal with at the grassroots level, the grounds. Now we get the youth and sport minister say looking after grounds, and I think was about 95% of them they're quarter way or halfway, and it's years now, over 5 years now. I get one in Lamar Park there for past 3 years. They're looking at the ground there. Them little boys got to play cricket on the road, as the case may be. That you need to look at the grounds. And remember, you have to get good club, good club. If you get a good club, you get a good national team. And you get a good national team, you get a good West Indian team. I remember the days of the Case Cup, I think it's the Ratman's Cup, and those things, the competition when you go on a weekend and watch cricket is like war. Police versus DCC, police versus GDF, this is war. And large crowd turning up. That if you don't look at things at the grassroots level, that's where things will start and develop. And then you have a lot of political interference in sports. Politics and sports, they don't work. They are strange bedfellows, politics and sports. But if we want to really look about cricket, there are so many different things that we got to do. But saying important, critical is what happened at the grassroots level. We know the administrators is working and nonsense, but if you deal with it at the grassroots level, people is going to excellent players going to emerge. So I'm saying grassroots, and I agree with you, Paul, with the points that you made there.
Yeah, and people are saying here you got politics in the cricket, politics take over the cricket, which is true. There's evidence politics take over the cricket. Even the people who are administering the cricket, some of them are politicians, and how you divorce your politics from the administration of the game. That is the problem. People have complained, allegations are made about racism in the cricket as well. Racism in the cricket. And of course, racism got to be in place like Guyana and other countries with ethnic mix. Some of the countries that would not have that problem. I'm talking about countries in the West Indies, right? And let me say this finally on the cricket issue, is that what people fail to recognize when we talk about West Indies cricket, West Indies is not a country. Let me repeat that. West Indies is not a country. West Indies is an amalgamation of 16 different countries, if I remember correctly, make up the West Indies. And because of that, you get a lot of countryman business, polarization in the thing. Look, right now, who is the cricket czar? Darren Sammy from St. Lucia. Look at the comments. Even the president of the West Indies Cricket Board, not so long ago, made comments that one of the reasons why they're attacking Sammy is because he comes from a small island. That is what he is alleged to have said. Right? So let me understand. Yeah, somebody said well, places like Micah and Myconi produce cricket like a factory. Port Morant and them places produce cricket like a factory. Well, what has happened now? You ain't got no facility now. Cow pasture. How are you going to produce good fielders and good batsmen and good bowlers? How? How are you? Why you believe West Indians are struggling so to spin and thing? That is the problem. That is part of the problem. I'm going to move on. I want to spend more time, but I thought it important to mention the comment allegedly made by the president about cricket to Ian Bishop. The man even said in the letter, I encourage you to go and read the letter, that when the president made the statement, it looked like Ian Bishop was cringing because he might have felt the comment was inappropriate. That is what the letter writer said today. Right? Now, let me we told you on the last day on Monday about the NIS arrangement there for you to live certificate via WhatsApp. We read it and we gave you the numbers and so on. And they did say in the release that what you have to do, let me also define it, what you have to do is to get a blank form. What they say, the NIS is encouraging all pensioners, particularly those living overseas, to make full use of the expanded system, to complete the process, users are required to present in one form of identification along with a blank life certificate during the video call. Now, a lot of people commented on it. I was even received a few calls on it, and I had to I had to admit I was like Christopher Columbus, because people said that they knew of the system and the system was in place for some time. Some people, of course, did not know of the system. But one person told me that the last thing that I just read might be a little misleading. That is a blank form. Because he said his experience is that you have to complete the form, but do not sign it. It has to be signed in the presence of the person on WhatsApp. So again, as I said on Monday, I am no expert. I just saw the information, thought it important enough to pass it on. And I'm encouraging you to make contact with people who know the system so that you can be properly guided. I never knew about this WhatsApp arrangement, and they said they had 6 numbers. Now it has expanded to 20, so it should have a more efficient service. But a friend told me his experience has been you can't get a blank form. You have to fill in the form with all your information and NIS number, but do not sign. Do not sign. When the call is connected, you say your thing, you sign in the presence of the person there, and then you send that in along with a copy of the document you use for your identification. As I said, make contact with the people who know at NIS or someplace else to make sure you do the correct thing. That is public service information. That is public service. That's what we do, That is what we do. Let me bring back CC if you want to say anything on this NIS story. CC, anything on the NIS?
Yeah, and just to recap some of the things you mentioned on the last program, that don't wait until you turn 60 before you look after your NIS story. Check on your contribution. Check. And let me tell you my experience. I started 1 year before I reached 65, before I reached 60. And when I do check, they mix a lot of contributions weren't there at the NIS for years. Like they knocked me off some year and then they bring me on and all kind of thing. And I started to work on it. And coming on to the being 60, there's a woman there and she says she wants to go to the police finance office to verify some documents. And I said, when you're ready, let me know. And she been pushing me around. And when I turned 60, I went to her and said, hey, I'm 60 now. I've been requesting. I'm not requesting no more. I'm demanding. When could you go with me to the police finance office? She said, I could go now. And I took her. She went there, police finance office. I think it was Happy or somebody who was there. When they look out to check, she checked some documents. And then when we come from the finance, she said, do something. You have a bigger problem. I got to see your personal file. I said, let me go. And I go upstairs at police headquarters. Baram Prasad was the admin man. And I spoke with him. And he buzzed him. He said, bring CC file. They brought the file. And she turned some pages. I know she looked for, she write something. And that's how I got you within 2 months. I started to get my pension. But the thing is, you need to check. You need to check and make sure that your contributions are there. And another point too is that you may be in the public service and you retire at 55 and you start another job. If you're receiving less than when you were in the public service, you will have your salary, your pension will be less because they computed for the last 3 years. So don't work for less money than when you retire. Work for more money and you have a higher or a better pension.
And again, check with people, check with the professionals so they can advise you how you can maximize on your benefit. It's something that you contributed to, so make sure you can get maximum benefit from it. Not only they want to take your money, and the bill the Bobby's Bridge and all the problems thereafter. So we understand this. Let us understand. Folks, share the live. Share. We're now coming to some more of the topical issues. So share the live. We're going to deal with this issue of corruption and all that. But before I go to that, I saw something today. I think in the court on Monday, but it's in today's paper. Well, not paper, news source. Acting Chief Justice overturns magistrate's decision to dismiss fraud charges. And I got to say, kudos to SOCU, the Special Organized Crime Unit. They got one. They don't win a case in terms of getting a person guilty or not guilty. I'm going to read what is being said, but kudos to them nevertheless. Acting Chief Justice Navendra Singh has overturned a decision by Magistrate Dylan Best to dismiss 3 charges against convicted fraudster Dev Rajeshwar Prasad. Magistrate Best had dismissed the 3 criminal charges brought against Prasad in the Diamonds Magistrate Court after the prosecutors for the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, were a no-show during the airing of the case via Zoom at the Leguan Magistrates Court. Unhappy with the ruling of the court, SOCU filed judicial review proceedings in the High Court and sought a number of declarations and orders to quash the decision of Magistrate Best on the basis that the magistrate acted illegally, irrationally, and arbitrarily when he dismissed the criminal charges against Prasad. Granting the judicial review in favor of SOCU, the acting Chief Justice ruled on Monday that Magistrate Best's decision to determine a matter in a different magisterial district was wholly improper. Acting Chief Justice ordered that the decision by Magistrate Best be dismissed. Let me read it back, please. Acting Chief Justice Singh ordered that the decision by Magistrate Best to dismiss the 3 charges in the Diamond Magistrate Court while sitting in the Leguan Magistrate Court be quashed. He said at a minimum, the sitting magistrate ought to have inquired from his court assigned clerk about the absence of the prosecution before dismissing the cases. In a statement, SOCU explained that the court assigned clerk had communicated the wrong date and time to the SOCU prosecutors. It was explained that the prosecutors were told by the clerk that the cases were adjourned to June 27, 2025 at 9 a.m. and not May 29, 2025. According to SOCU, it was not until June 27, 2025 that the prosecutors were informed that the cases were dismissed since May 29 in their absence. Quote, they received a WhatsApp message from the court assigned clerk of the Diamond Magistrate Court requesting that an adjournment date be suggested by the prosecution since Magistrate Best was scheduled to sit at the Leguan Magistrate Court instead of the Diamond Magistrate Court on that date. SOCU prosecutors suggested June 27, 2025 as an alternative date for the continuation of the trial, and the court assigned clerk agreed, end of quote. It explained. It was not until they inquired about the 3 cases that the prosecutors were reportedly told that Magistrate Best adjoined the Diamond Court Zoom online account while sitting in the Leguan Magistrate Court. Head of the Special Organized Crime Unit, Deputy Commissioner Fazil Karimba, said it is unfortunate that SOCU had to resort to the court action to ensure compliance of the magistrate, since magistrates are creatures of statutes and cannot arbitrarily and without jurisdiction make pronouncements which are contrary to the law and rules governing the administration of justice. SOCU was represented by Attorney at Law David Braffett. Now, very interesting when I read this thing. I said, well, how can a magistrate sit at Leguan and dismiss a case at Diamond? Something's wrong. But many times people blame the system, people talk about corruption, because what they're explaining here is that the clerk of court gave them a date in June. The matter called in May. And because they did not appear, obviously they did not know, the magistrate dismissed the case. the magistrate dismissed the case. Then it was discovered that they got a wrong date. So they went for judicial review. I mean, they took it to the judge, and the judge reviewed to say the magistrate was wrong to dismiss the case. First of all, I want to know how the magistrate know that you can sit in Leguan Magistrate Court. Because even if, let's say, he also sits in the Diamond Magistrate Court, he can't sit at Leguan and determine cases at Diamond. He can't. You know, when you go to court, you hear the hardly gun say, court rise, is or worship the magistrate, blah, blah, blah. There's another thing I can't remember what you're supposed to say, right? But having said that, when you said that the magistrate takes the bench, that is when the magistrate authority really start. The magistrate, as they say, when I did prosecutor's course, the magistrate becomes functious, now sitting and have all the powers that is assigned to the magistrate. And then when the court ends and they all rise, no longer functions. Policemen, y'all got to know these things. No longer functions, right? And in Guyana, you have magisterial districts. So if a magistrate is assigned to a particular magisterial district, his authority is restricted to that district. The Attorney General or the former Attorney General, I don't know if he's still Attorney General, discovered that when, or at least admitted to that when he went to open the Mabaruma court, when he said the district of the magistrate is territorial, but more than territorial, not only within the territory, but within a particular magisterial district, except for the chief magistrate. And the chief magistrate has jurisdiction in Guyana, all the courts. So what happens? If a matter occurs that used to happen long ago, somewhere at Letem or somewhere there, because I know in them far-flung areas, they used to take long, so they once a month to court. You got a serious matter, right? You bring the defendant or the accused person to the chief magistrate, and then the chief magistrate had the authority to listen to the case and then to transfer it to the correct district. No other magistrate can do that, I don't think. The chief magistrate is how I know it. So if a magistrate is assigned to the Georgetown Magisterial District, that magistrate can go just like that in the East Demerara Magisterial District or the West Demerara Magisterial District. Incidentally, back in the day, the West Demerara Magisterial District had extended to Linden. You can't go in the Essequibo Magisterial District. You have to work within your district. So how come this magistrate there in Leguan, I assume that Leguan they're under another magisterial district, and pronouncing on a case in the West Demerara, not West Demerara, East Coast Demerara. I want to know, and before I bring in CC, I have to ask, what is there any review, is there any disciplinary review for matters like that? And you know, that is why people will make allegations about corruption and all this type of thing, because let's give the magistrate the benefit. It's a mistake, but a mistake like that should not be made. Them is routine things. Your jurisdiction routine, right? So I can understand what happened there, and this further brings the whole system into disrepute, because you are not going to be able to convince people that some act of corruption was not involved. Let me understand. I am not saying that it was any act of corruption. As I said, you give the magistrate the benefit, it might have been an honest mistake. But Guyana being what it is, people can say all sort of things, and you bring the system into disrepute. Those mistakes ought not to be made. You have to be extremely careful, especially a matter involving SOCU, the Special Organized Crime Unit. This man that says a convicted fraudster. That is what the article is saying. Let me bring in CC, man, as a former prosecutor and so on. CC, how can such a mistake be made, man?
Not only former prosecutor, I big up myself, my man who is a trained prosecutors. Now, I can't give Suku a full thumbs up, you know. Maybe I might give them a little finger, because the case still got to go back to them, and they still got to bring the witnesses to prove the case whether the person is guilty or not guilty. And the success rate, I don't know, is not very good at all. Just like when, remember, there are charges for conspiracy to defraud to over $10 million, and Suku brought 26 witnesses to testify, including the Honorable Brutus. And at the end of it, they had people from the Police Finance Office, the Police Quartermaster Store, the Police General Office, the Commissioner's Secretary, Ministry of Affairs, Ministry of Finance, Quartermaster Store, and all sort of other areas. And at the end of it, the magistrate said there wasn't an iota of evidence to convict us, nothing whatsoever. I remember they say, oh, you defraud $10 million, and nobody ever give evidence to show that any of us receive a cent. Nothing to show that we conspire with persons or persons known or unknown. But the thing is that the magistrate has jurisdiction to contend with. And you can't be in leg one and dismissing a matter with providence or ways of the case with. That you gotta go and sit down there and hear the case. You gotta be the sitting magistrate there and hear the case and decide one way or the other. But you can't let them and then dismiss a matter that's going on at Springlands. No way. And to back you up all, yes, a matter happening, let them. There's no sitting. Sometimes they give it with 3 months or 1 month before the sitting. You bring the person to tongue, and the chief magistrate will decide and will transfer the matter to the relative jurisdiction. If it's a let them, the chief magistrate won't send it to leg one or Wakenham or whatever, back to let them. It was surprising, that the magistrate sitting at leg one and dismiss a matter for this is East Bank matter. And you ask, would any action be taken against the magistrate? Would any action be taken against the magistrate? And then we didn't even know whether Sukuk can get enough evidence to prove the case and say, hey, we give them a thumbs up that they get a conviction.
Yes. Again, I say the magistrate has to be functious in a particular jurisdiction in order to be making decisions. You can be in leg one. The Chief Justice said that, acting Chief Justice, and decide matter in Diamond Magistrate Court. Yeah, share the life, man. Share the life. We got thinking now. Now let me deal with another matter. In the lead up to the elections, they had this issue with the Venezuelan embassy, where UTAD, the man at Foreign Affairs there, these people ain't got no shame, UTAD came out and told this nation that the Mohammeds, that's what he said, the Mohammeds went into the Venezuelan embassy in Guyana. And they had a big noise over it because they were speculating, or they were trying to give the impression that they were trying to go to a country from which they could not be extradited and all sort of crap. UTAD, the foreign minister, and he said that he called in the Venezuelan ambassador. He said that he called in the Venezuelan ambassador. Now, after he said so, Tad said so, Jack Dio threw you under the bus. Because Jack Dio said, well, it's the elder Mohammed, Nazar Shel Mohammed. Not the Mohammeds any longer, it's one Mohammed. And then Jack Dio challenging the Mohammed to produce evidence that he did not go to the Venezuelan embassy. You ever hear nonsense like that? You are accusing this man of going to the embassy for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a crime to go to the embassy, but they're accusing. Because Jack Dio said he would call the police and the military to investigate. Jack Dio said so. I can repeat that because it is on record. He said so. Right? Then we didn't hear nothing. Recently now, the Venezuelan ambassador has come out and basically saying that they lie. Because he said, first of all, the Mohammeds have no relationship with Venezuela. And then when they talk about the application or what might have been an application for the passport, the man said them records is confidential. And basically, even if it were to happen, they're not at liberty to give out the information. That is what the man said. And in the meanwhile, they're claiming that Nasruddin Mohammed, who was a presidential candidate and who was a thorn in their side, went to the Venezuelan embassy. That is what UTAD said. And They couldn't produce a shred of evidence. No evidence, no video evidence, nothing to support it. That is how lying and how dishonest and how corrupt these people are. They come out, it's there, it is there. And then the Venezuelan ambassador say, well, let me put it this way. Let me be honest. Let me give them the benefit, because I am saying that even if there was such a relationship between the Mohammeds and the Venezuelan, I don't think the Venezuelan ambassador can admit to that publicly. So let me give him that. Let me give them that. But the onus is on you to provide this evidence that they went there. You never did so. You never did. You can't do it because there's no evidence. Because let me tell you this. Let me reflect on what was happening just before the election. You believe if this PPP government that used everything to their advantage during this election had evidence that the Mohammeds were going into the Venezuelan embassy, only you tag and go on top, Jack, they would have presented for one cuss out show. They would have got that cuss every morning. It would have been leaked to them. It would have been leaked to some of the social media platforms that are aligned to them. And they would have get it right, they plaster it all over. But the fact that they were unable to do so because they didn't get no evidence. And then you get people who are gullible. You know, Jack Joe said this, guy, they get a lot of stupid people. Many of them would have believed the part in that nonsense. But the Venezuelan High Commissioner come out now and say, not a thing like that. And they're staying quiet. They're going to say nothing. Because they don't win the election, they're going to say nothing. But it's a credibility issue. And I have said that they don't have credibility. They lie too much. They lie too much. Big nice they make about the Mohammeds going to the Venezuelan embassy. And the Venezuelan ambassador come out and say, basically tell their lie. Big nice. And I'm going to ask the question again before I begin, Mr. Conway. Given what the Venezuelans have been doing, election for Essequibo, government for Essequibo, all them demands and all the issue Essequibian with Venezuelan ID card, why is our ambassador still in Venezuela? Richard Van West Charles. What are you doing there? What is he doing there? Only recently it's been reported now where Guyanese are kidnapped by some gang in Venezuela. I saw now that the relatives now are appealing to the Venezuelan authorities to return, to intervene, to have their loved ones return. What is Van West Charles doing? Why do we still have an ambassador from Venezuela resident in Guyana? Having regards to all that is going on, all this saber rattling. Venezuela has signaled clearly that the matter in relation to the Essequibo that is against the intention of the World Court, they don't care because they say they don't recognize that the World Court has jurisdiction over the matter. So they're setting the wicket in anticipation of the World Court ruling in favor of Guyana. Venezuela is going to ignore that. So what are we waiting for? Why do we still have a ambassador, Van West Charles? I mean, apart from the fact that he's getting money and he's getting perks, what is he doing there? What is he doing to secure the release of the Guyanese who were recently kidnapped? We call it kidnapped because I know the purpose of it. Because I don't know that the demand has been made for ransom. I don't know what was the motive behind the kidnapping. But you got an ambassador. No release, he doesn't say nothing. And we have an ambassador from Venezuela in Guyana and nothing. Waste of time. It's a waste of time. That's the type of management you have. But I tell you all, PPPC, piss poor performance continues. The piss poor performance continues. Change it continues to corruption, and you're still in line. Let me bring in CC to deal with that. CC, this matter, where the court big and tell you all the Mohammeds went to the Venezuelan embassy, blah, 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 blah. Now, the Venezuelan ambassador say what they say is not true.
Let's try to put things in context, proper context. What the PPPC is saying, that, hey, according to their lobbyists, The Mohammeds, they are puppets of the Madura government. And imagine, it's unbelievable that they would call in a foreign ambassador to find out if the Mohammeds, either collectively or individually, went to the Venezuelan embassy to seek visa. How can they do that? It doesn't sound right for the first place that you call in the ambassador to find out if a citizen who went in there to make application for a visa, when diplomatically you could do it otherwise, or when you could make a phone call, and then as the Venezuelan ambassador rightly say, we don't disclose these things, and the man never come inside there. But it's all because of this political situation, and more so, they want to discredit the Mohammeds. I'm not representing them. I'm not representing them. That they are puppets of Maduro who claim 2/3 of Guyana. You know, and we get kidnapping. We get reports of Guyanese, not allegation, reports of Guyanese being robbed in the Cayuni River, and nobody ain't calling out no Venezuelan ambassador. Come and explain this. Let me know what's happening. They blame it on the sindicato and say, there is it. It's a sindicato. Who is to tell you? Who's to know where it's not is Venezuela? They set up the thing themselves and blame it on the sindicatos. We had where they shot at vessel being driven by GDF in uniform. Shot at vessels conveying election material and boxes and election officials in the Cayuni River. Things happening in the Cayuni River. And nobody ain't calling in no ambassador to find out or even to lodge a complaint. No, but you're targeting the Mohammeds. And here's it, the Venezuelan ambassador screw them up. And if you want to hear more about it, read today's Kaichur, page 11. Page 11 and some other pages, get it in full. Read and hear how the Venezuelan ambassador screw them up. Screw up or you name Tada or something. I know what first thing I know Tada to foreign minister. I know how he turned foreign minister. He's not a Rashdi Jackson. He's not S.S. Ramphal. He's not a Fred Wills, or persons of that caliber. So they're bluffing, but bluffing is a two-side thing, It's either you succeed gloriously or you fail miserably. And in this instance, Todd and others fail miserably.
Well, you say you become foreign affairs minister. Remember, Rui was foreign affairs minister too. So you gotta get over.
Can't put Rui in a category, man. No
That's what you have. That is what you have. People who supposed to be representing us. What are they doing? What are they doing? Now, they have so many other things, but I think as we come to the last segment of this program, we gotta address this corruption issue. I have to address this corruption. The president on Sunday during his inauguration said that he said that they're gonna establish a unit to deal with corruption. That to me was the biggest laugh in a long time, right? President in the manifesto, next PPP government will establish anti-corruption unit. That is what the president said. That's what they said in the manifesto, and fully enforce Access to Information Act. So that is what it was said in the manifesto. And on Sunday, the president said that they're going to establish this anti-corruption unit. Well, it caused me to wonder. Some people said it's the biggest joke of the century, right? It caused me to wonder because not so long ago, the president and all these same PPP people were saying they're going to make corruption. When allegations were made of corruption, That's Jack Neo up on record say he was bring the evidence. The president, if finally on record, said bring the evidence. And I am on record as saying it does not work like that. I wrote a letter which was published in the dailies that as my training is that once an allegation is made and proved to be credible, the investigators have to go and get the evidence. You don't want a person to come to make allegation. They must bring the evidence. But that they were saying, bring the evidence. Then eventually the evidence surfaced when the United States government sanctioned the Mohammeds and May Thomas, a government permanent secretary, for corruption, among other things. And it seems as though things changed then. They suddenly recognized that they get something named corruption. They went so far as to ban the word corruption in Parliament. Parliamentarians could not use the word corruption in the last Parliament. I think it's the 12th Parliament, at least a period. They couldn't use the word corruption. But now they're going to form an anti-corruption unit to deal with what? If there's no corruption, tell me. If there's no corruption, why are you forming an anti-corruption unit? I got a strong belief that all of this is because of pressure, international pressure that would have been brought to bear, or in anticipation of further international pressure. That is why they come and talk about anti-corruption unit when a short while ago they used to deny about corruption. They used to deny the only corruption they knew of was the little policeman taking a raise on the road, shake down some body, shake right or left. That's all what for them. There's all corruption. All them millions and hundreds and millions of dollars in corruption that we all know taking place. Look, only I think it's today they're talking about the Bamia school, where these people call themselves statement, Shanghai Major and them, some entertainers get contract to build some big school on the East Bank, on the highway. Up to now, they're saying they can't open. I'm talking about opening schools are open on Monday. Up to now, initially, I think it was 300 and something million. Then they get more money. And it's corruption. Call it whatever you want, corruption. They're also talking about the procurement unit for strengthening. And it's corruption. Vice News, corruption. The vice president himself entertaining people who supposed to be businessmen who turn out to be undercover reporters in his living room. Corruption. And I say that's a good start if you want to investigate corruption. That Vice News. Because them thing and get statute of limitation, at least the statute of limitation would not be over. Then we had not so long ago Junior Bash making allegation implicating the president, Ali himself. And what has happened? The unit going to come to investigate that? If you're going to investigate corruption, or if you're serious about corruption, one of the first things that you have to do, listen to me carefully, free advice, free good advice, because you ain't getting good advice from your Attorney General. You're getting ramgoat advice from the Attorney General. If you want to talk and people take you to be serious about corruption, you got a law, right? Called the Protective Disclosure Act, what we call the Whistleblower Act of 2018, I think it was. Give effect to that. That law was passed. The Whistleblower Act, as it is known. The correct name is the Protective Disclosure Act, or Protective Disclosure Act. And they have not given effect to that act. They have not given effect. In other words, this is an act which says that if you're in an office or you're there anywhere you see corruption, you can go and you can make a report and be protected. You make the report and you are protected. The last bombshell report that we got under that same whistleblower thing was Sergeant Bascom, Dean Bascom. When he went live and he alleged that the head of the major crime unit, Superintendent Mitchell Caesar, was given $30 million Ghana by Azuddin Mohammed to cover up the Paper Shards murder. That was bombshell. Classic whistleblower. Because the man said he been there, he was part of the investigation, been there. What happened? They went after him viciously. Cybercrime charges. or interdiction, right? I remember his lawyer, Bascom's lawyer at the time, Mr. Nigel Hughes, wrote to the president asking for Bascom to be protected. It was literally ignored because at the time when the letter was written, I remember when the president was leaving the country. And then he said he had not seen it. Well, he hasn't seen him up to now. He has not seen it up to now. They went after that sergeant. And you want to talk about corruption? What did the police do? Aiken and Blanham called a disastrous press conference to debunk the allegation where Bascom said that he had taken this by Bacchus. And the evidence proved that Bascom was correct. He took Bacchus in. Right? Bacchus reached out to him and he took him in. What did they do? Cybercrime charge, complainant Caesar. Cybercrime charge, complainant the divisional commander, not the divisional, the detective commander, Chabinat Singh. Cybercrime charges against the sergeant who is a whistleblower. And the law says that under those circumstances, the person should not be victimized. That's what the law. But they haven't given effect to the law. And you're talking about wanting to go after corruption? And then, let me go. I can go on and I will go on about this matter because I believe that those things are all talk. They're not sincere when they tell you about going under corruption. Because who are the people who are corrupt? The people them and the people who are lying to them. They are the ones who are corrupt and they are the people who are lying to them. The only people who go after corruption got to be the foreign governments, like the US with sanctions and that. That's the only people who go after corruption. Because even if they establish this unit, look to see who they're going to put to be in the unit. Let me give you all a recommendation as we are on it. He's celebrating the birthday tomorrow. Lloyd Alvin Smith, Mr. Wrongman, uncorruptible. If you all want a good thing to start, is Putty. He's a very good investigator and he cannot be corrupted. Especially now that he has never been corrupted all his life, and now that he has turned to the Lord, you can't corrupt him. Right? So maybe that's a good place to start. But you're going to say Yule and all that thing. I know that. I know this we're going to say. You're going to look for people who are pliable, who are malleable. You don't want people who are independent to come after you with the corruption. The thing they all over, the thing, procurement. Look at the Harlem Road, we're building and broken up. They tell you about they're spending millions. Look at the same school. Look at this, the pump station. All them things, corruption. Corruption. Are you scapegoat Brutus? 262 or 252 charges. Again, you think Brutus could have done all of those things that he had alleging alone? No, he could not have. But what happened? You can sit down there and take $8.5 million. That is not corruption. Are you talking about corruption? But you know this? You can seek to be like the proverbial ostrich, bury your head in the sand and left your ass exposed. The international community and people looking at it and they know different. They know about the corruption that is going on. They know. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to get some of this bowling or the button with this corruption story. Go ahead, CC.
Yeah, corruption, If you're going to deal with corruption, you have to start from within. Start with your own party. Start with your own government. Start inside and then go outside. So much of corruption taking place. Procurement, the tender board, things not going to tender. Persons get big contract, $800 and something million to build pump station. People get too much, $100,000 to build school. That years pass and the school nothing, and then you get in here, it's 95% complete. And this since last year, 95% complete. So much of corruption in this country. And then when persons want to come forward and give you the evidence, you jump against them. You use the Cybercrime Act that Nanlal said when he was opposition, that when they come into government, they're going to repel that act, that draconian act. Paul, you mentioned Bascom, he spilled the bean. He was a whistleblower. And instead of listening to him, listen to him to hear what he said. Sometimes we talk too damn much, we don't listen. And that's why the Lord gave us 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 mouth that we must stop and do a lot of listening. They ain't listen to Bascom. They charge him, weaponize the Cybercrime Act. Same Nanlal who say you're going to repeal it. And there are parallels, I mentioned it before, but I still got to mention it all the time. In the United States of America, Frank Swapico, a detective sergeant like Bascom, spilled the beans. They listened to him. They formed the NAPS Commission, and they had massive reform in the NYPD. Massive reform. He shook the very foundation of the NYPD. A detective sergeant just like Bascom. He talk it. They listen. They didn't charge it. They listen. And they formed the NAPS Commission where we had tremendous reform in the NYPD. And I always talk about when you go down under New South Wales Police Department, Shelley Ann Oxtave. What they said, she was a prostitute. She was a drug addict. Or to use other words, she's a lady of the night. You get them, may say a domestic, a sex worker, a trumpet, and as Mighty Sparrow would say, a wabbin. Remember he sang a song, they would put me out of place if they only tackle Tiger Bay and burn down the place where me wabbins they'll stay. They say a lady of ill repute, and she testified, she gave evidence, she spilled the beans that shocked the New South Wales Police Department. They super cop, they go and by the most decorated police was a murderer, was a drug trafficker. She testified and gave evidence. They listened to her and gave evidence. And he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He came out of prison horizontally. Shook up the New South Wales police. And you can't say she's a strumpet, she's a lady of the night, and don't bother with you. They say Bascom, was living in a house in Essequibo that is owned by a businessman who has seen how they thing for drugs, for gold smuggling. Say, Bascom live in the house rent free. And the same police department gleefully accepted 10 vehicles from the same guy who Bascom said. They said Bascom was living rent free in the house. We heard the evidence, recent evidence, the allegations that he implicated the president and a whole set of other people. If they're going to do the corruption, they're going to form the unit, they got to go there. There's a good place to start. There's a good starting point. A good starting point. So I know what are you going to do in terms of setting up unit there. But saying if you're going to set up unit and you're going to start from within. Start from yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror And you can't be like Shaggy and say the man in the mirror is not me. And you can't be like Michael Jackson say that Jade is not my son. Billie Jean is not my girl. Jade is not my son. And if you take an X and you put it upside down, it is still X. I say take an X and you put it upside down, it is still X. The corruption is there.
The corruption is there. They now see a little bit of well, they're claiming to be seeing it now because remember, as I've said, not so long ago, they had not made corruption. The word ban in Parliament. Wonder when Parliament convened, who can be the speaker and whether the ban will be lifted or even the ban was only for that session of Parliament. I think it's the 12th session of Parliament. These things you got to wonder out loud. But let me show y'all, I'm going to play this tape about corruption. Not the regular tape. Share the live. Share. I'm going to show y'all what happened here in Nepal. This is ongoing. This is recent. As recent as yesterday.
Nepal is burning. Young protesters in Kathmandu have set fire to the parliament building, the Supreme Court, as well as the residence of the former prime minister. They were initially triggered by a ban on social media, but after the government lifted the ban on Monday, protests intensified. There is a wider set of grievances, including government corruption, a lack of economic opportunities, as well as the lethal use of force against the protesters. And anger has extended online to videos like this.
What are you having for dinner? Oh, this is pork barrel.
Criticizing so-called Nepo kids, the entitled children of government officials. These protests are being led by young people, largely between the ages of 13 and 28. That's why they're being called Nepal's Gen Z protests. On Tuesday, Nepal's president urged protesters to talk and cooperate for a peaceful resolution.
You saw it there. Let me read what, in case you don't know, Nepal, allegation of corruption and nepotism in the country, that the government is corrupt. Nepotism, the inviting family. Part of the clip we saw there is that the children of the government ministers and so on live in this lavish lifestyle, part of the corruption, lavish lifestyle. It says there, they talk about unemployment and inequality. They talk to the government decision to ban 26 social media platforms. People complain about corruption, took to social media talking about corruption. The government way of dealing with that was to ban 26 social media platforms, including WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. They banned them because they don't want the information about the corruption to spread, so they banned them. I'm saying this because remember, not so long ago too, our president said, same Sunday, right? You got social media every day. You got to crack down on perceived inaccurate information. I hope they're watching and they're learning. Sunday, in his inauguration speech, President Ali talks about crackdown on perceived inaccurate information. And we're seeing now in Nepal, when the people talking about corruption and what is going on, nepotism and all that, the government reaction was to ban 26 social media platforms in that country, including WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. You see what it led to. I saw a video this morning. It's on social media. The finance minister, half naked, the beatini, Dashio, he jump over some thing there. Beatini, that is what is going on. Corruption. Oh, they're learning the lesson, This is not instigating anything, but I'm saying, as I said, Beniba, make Kwashiba take notice. It's corruption. People, you get to the point where you can't take it anymore. And everybody says, everybody article says, the BBC article, I wrote a part of it. In the weeks before the ban, a Nepo kid, that is a Nepo kid, what they're calling them there. A Nepo kid campaign spotlighting the lavish lifestyle of politicians' children, and allegations of corruption are taken off on social media. And while the social media ban was hastily lifted on Monday night, the protests had by then, the process that had been staged again unstoppable momentum. 19 protesters were killed in clashes with the police on Monday. They set the old Parliament building complex on fire. The Prime Minister house was set in fire. The Prime Minister resigned. Politicians' homes were vandalized. Government buildings were torched. Corruption, nepotism. And they talk about corruption. And I'm warning them again about this thing where you talk about crackdown on perceived inaccurate information. Crackdown, who determines what is the inaccurate information? I don't have time now to read the recent report from the EU about the same cybercrime thing and so on. We're going to deal with it another day. But I'm saying that this, look, let me understand this, man. Even the supporters of the PPP, many of them have admitted that the corruption is rampant. And as I've said before, that the only people who vote for PPP are those who are, as the thing say, those who are racist and those who are gaining from from what is going on. That is what the person wrote. Let me try to find it to read. It says here, this is a letter that or an article that prepared just before election entitled "Why I No Longer Support the PPP." And the person says everyone who supports the PPP does so for one of two reasons: race or money. Either their loyalty is rooted in racism or in direct monetary benefits through contracts and connections. That is true. That is true. How can you see all what is going on and you decide that you're supporting them if you aren't racist or if you aren't getting the food? You aren't getting the food. So that is what is happening. But I decided to play that clip and to bring in that Nepal situation because it's still ongoing. It is still ongoing there, right? To show when a government is corrupt, when the government is accused of nepotism, and then, as I said, they got the children, the government ministers' children and so on, living a lavish lifestyle. Shades of what going on in Guyana. Shades of what going on. But you know, people say Guyanese are decent. Guyanese are decent. We are not violent, even though some of them would want to portray us as terrorists and scale. We're not violent. We are not. We bear with chafe and thing. But look what is happening in Nepal. Look what is happening there. I hope they look at that because there's claim to police high-handedness. Police decide they're going to go in and they're going to use the show. They're throwing smoke and all them type of thing on the people. The youths, God, I say are the Gen Zers. The youths are the ones. The younger brigade decide you can't take it no more. And people do that when they see there's no future for them. No future. Giving a man a little contract for build a drain or for clean a drain. And then they see the lavish lifestyle, caviar and champagne and so on they're using. What do you believe? They want that too? They want that too? Right? No, they know Banwari, yes, I'm fair. Banwari said to bear your chief. We didn't say how long. Banwari said to bear your chief, and according to Cyril Langevin, the late officer from the police force, he said Banwari never said how long they must bear your chief. You can push. At some stage, it becomes overbearing, and people will fight back. That's what happened in Nepal. That is what is happening there. Prime Minister resigned. That video with the finance minister this morning, eye-opening. Man, there with the beer shots. People beating him with big stick. He jump over a wall, fall long, almost gone into a trench. Violence. Don't justify violence, but then the point is, when people are fed up and feel they have nothing to lose, that is the result. That is the result. When people feel they have nothing to lose. Let me bring in CC to comment on this this Nepal story. CC, you see what happened there in Nepal?
Yeah, so what happened to the finance minister? And let me make it clear. Just as you mentioned, that we are not instigating anything. We showed what happened in Nepal or what is going on there. We're not instigating anything before they come and they want to give you cyber charge and all kind of thing. The thing is that my training is that when you do problem solving, is that you do what we call environmental scanning. That you look at what is going on in your environment. Scan the environment to see, analyze what's going on. And then not only that, you look external too. You look externally. Internally and externally, you do environmental scanning. Just like we looking at what is going on in that mountainous country. And there are lessons to be learned from environmental scanning. There are lessons to be learned from what is going on there. There are parallels. They talk about lethal force being used by the police. They talk about persons, not being properly treated. It's like a cat. You push him against the wall. You can't move, you can't think anymore. He spring on back on you. And there are lessons to be learned with those protests that taking place there. How do you deal with them? And we have right in this country, persons are being deprived. The pie is shared by a small circle, an inner circle, while the rest is left unattended. Things are happening. And corruption there widespread. The government deeply involved in corruption. And it's happening. Maybe now they realize it and they're going to form anti-corruption unit. I don't know if it's going to work, or perhaps it's just talk, and then maybe they might pad up the anti-corruption unit with their own people so that they can have the desired results. So I'm saying, look at things internally and look at things externally. Scan and learn from the mistake of others. There are lessons to be learned. And I hope that they're looking out and they're looking internally and they will learn from those lessons.
Well said, Roberto. Let me adjust this point. Some students here talking about leadership, and one man like to blame opposition leadership and so on. I've been reading that Nepal story, and nowhere in it have I seen that this thing had to do with any organizing by politicians and so on. Based on what is coming out, is the people decide, the Gen Zers, they say, decide that they can't take it any longer, and they came out and did what they did. They came out, and that is when things are even more worrying. Because if you have it organized by some political group, then one can expect there to be some control. But when people spontaneously decide, well, we can't take this thing no more, and we're coming out, right? That is very problematical. My training in crowd control and crowd psychology tells me that is worrying. Because nobody can call. I think now the Nepalese leadership, military, they're trying to find people to talk, to tell them to calm down and so on, right? So this thing that we sit back and we talk about, the leader didn't do this and the opposition leader didn't do that and so on. Yeah, he did not. But look, again, we said lesson to learn. Based on what I've been following this matter, I've been following this matter as a public affairs matter, public interest matter. And I have not seen once. As a matter of fact, the people claiming when they started, it has been hijacked. That is what these young people started saying. It has been hijacked. So we got to look at that. But we sit back and we blame everybody. We blame everyone except the people who are causing the problem. That is the corrupt people in government causing the problem. Again, I say, let me understand, let me analyze it. Not so long ago, the vice president and the president, they tell you, oh, there's no corruption, bring the evidence. Then all of a sudden, there's a complete turn now. They're talking about corruption, anti-corruption unit. And that is, in my view, my personal view, that is only meant to give the impression to the ABC and the EU people that we are doing something about it. Because people have alluded to that all the time. People have alluded to that, inequalities and inequities, and they've alluded to that. So now they come for the second term. They want to tell people that we are doing something. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Don't just come and talk about the unit. We're going to set it up. Let's see what the terms of references are. The terms of reference are. Let's see who are the people to staff the unit, and you will get your signal from there whether they're really serious about corruption. You're going to get the thing from there. Now, let me play. Now, we talk about a lot of things this morning, and a lot of things we have not been able to go into. A lot of things. I saw the GHRA, Guided Human Rights Association, issuing a statement about the recently concluded election. We saw the Commonwealth talking about the cybercrime. We're going to talk about that some other time. And then we had promised you, when we spoke about that young corporal's action and what the man bluff you, the man tell you, you're not a traffic man, you can't stop me. We're going to talk about the ruling of Justice William Ramlal in the case brought by the current acting Chief Justice at the time he was a lawyer. And there's a ruling there that it should be a case study on how the police should operate. William Ramlal, who then became the police complaints authority, he ruled in it. But yet still you got all these things still going on. And you know, CC said, and CC will tell you that people have said they never knew of this type of ruling. How are you going to have such important rulings? And it's not a part of the training in the police training college or the police academy, whatever. These are things that have to be routine. The letter by Attorney Chevy Davonish talking about stop and search your power. The ruling by Justice Ramlal in the case brought by the now acting Chief Justice. Those things should be embedded in the training curriculum so that they know what the powers are. But that is what we have. That is what we have. And let me say this. Let me say this. I'm going to play this again for y'all because it is important for us to understand when we talk about corruption. Hold on. When they talk about corruption, I'm going to play the tape. I'm going to play the tape.
The darker you are, the lower you are on the index. The developed countries hardly ever get on this index. And they have more institutional corruption, in my view.
What about within your government? Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
You know, we've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that, in fact, it's the only way to get business done.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that. You can just sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Zhirong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't.
Do you use middlemen like Sue in order to take money on your behalf so that you can keep your hands clean?
No. The answer is no.
We met with a manager from a Chinese state-run corporation who confirmed that they use individuals like Sue in order to get these deals done, and that they pay them a consulting fee, which essentially serves as a bribe to individuals like you. I mean, what would you say to that?
I don't know, because again, that's all. You're building everything on what you have met and what people told you. I don't know. I can't comment on some anonymous manager now telling you something.
I mean, these are individuals who have significant business interests in this country. So
why do you think, yes, but why do you think?
So many people are telling us one thing about, you know, this is the way that deals get done.
But it
I'm wondering what your take is.
But don't you know, when the reporters come from abroad, this is their catch you kind of thing. You always want to make a developing country leader look corrupt. So you've done your bit.
Will you investigate at least, these
No,
things?
definitely. I'm going to ask about all of this, but I can't comment reasonably. How can I comment on these issues?
A few days after meeting with us, Jagdeo released our interview to the press, seemingly to get ahead of the onslaught of public reactions. Guyana's president leapt to Jagdeo's defense.
I heard that the reporter had certain special interests.
Neither the timber exporter we spoke to nor the Chinese state-run firms mentioned in this piece responded to our questions. But in a statement, the Chinese embassy called our reporting false and said all Chinese companies operating in Guyana follow local laws and international practices. Su also claimed he'd never said this and released a statement saying that he'd never acted on behalf of any government official or promised any favour or business-related reward. Since our interview...
That is the next part of the whole thing. That was when, a couple of years back, you would have heard the Vice President himself said they're going to investigate. Yeah, we'll investigate. No investigation. He said so. That's why I like to play these things. I want to repeat and you believe that we're misrepresenting anything. We play it. He said you're going to get an investigation. When she asked if you're going to investigate, we're going to investigate. No investigation. And now they're telling people we're going to form anti-corruption unit and all sort of thing. I believe that there is a reaction to the pressure from the international community. That statement about forming an anti-corruption unit is pressure from international sources. Because enough of them, they're in the crosshairs of the OFAC to be sanctioned. Many of them. And as I've said before, look to see who going back to in the cabinet. Look to see who they are going to select for the parliament. Look, and that will tell you a story. Look, we're almost at an end. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to comment on that. And I want to say something further about parliament and all that. See your comment, my brother.
Yeah, and then jump to the defense of the second vice president. Here's it. The president is saying that the woman get interest. Matters not if you get interest. The allegations are there. Deal with the allegations, investigate. But now they're coming from front now. And I agree, maybe they were threatened somewhere along the line. So they say, hey, we're going to form this anti-corruption unit. Maybe they're using the words, maybe to appease people. But look at the unit. We'll be waiting to see who will make up the unit. And what will be the terms of reference for this unit. They jump in, and they're defending Jagdeo, the president himself. Other people jump in and defend him. They're writing on the wall. And as I said earlier, if you take an X and you put it upside down, it is still an X.
That is the letter X. Many of them are going to be X, just so EX. Many of them are going to be X. You're closing, my brother.
All right. I mentioned earlier, a couple sessions ago, they should look at the financial arrangement with the special constabulary. Allegations are there are tremendous financial irregularities going on at the special constabulary. Now, I understand that quite a number of persons retired. Persons approach me. And the special constabulary senior people collected money to buy a gift for them and also to hold a little session for them. And that was not done. And they want to know what happened with the money. And also a lot of irregularities with ranks working at the airport in terms of allowances and in terms of benefits. Few people are benefiting. And then this big one, I know it stopped, but all the way before, where we have the special constabulary, we call them the regular members of the special constabulary, being paid by the government. And then we have, we call it the other members of the special constabulary who are guarding the corporation like the GT&T and other places. And those institutions are paying the police for this service. So what they did, they made all of them regular members of the special constabulary. So the government is paying for them, plus the corporation also paying for them. A double whammy. Where that money has gone to, who is utilizing the money, the government paying for them, and the corporation paying for the service. So a double whammy. I hope that they look at the financial arrangements in the special constabulary. It is thinking. Somebody needs to look at that.
Yeah. Somebody, thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. Now, you know, as I've said a while ago, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. This worrying statement by the president about crackdown on inaccurate information and all of that, and then the European Union talking about the cybercrime. We're gonna address all of these things. How do you tackle corruption when the medium or the media that is used to expose corruption is under threat? It's under threat. The people talk about them things, and we're gonna talk about it. The Guyana Human Rights Association, as we have been saying, they say the elections were peaceful but not free and fair. And we're going to talk about that another time. We had it to speak about today, but then with the issue that we address, right? The issue that come up that we had to address with the court and all of that, it took up the time. But don't be alarmed. We're going to bring it to you. We're going to tell you about it. And as I indicated a while ago, we forgot to mention it on Monday, schools are now open. So we have got to caution the drivers to be, well, perhaps it's something going to fall on deaf ears. Because look what's going on in Guyana. Look, this is yesterday or something. We understand that the driver of the car was trapped in the car and subsequently freed. I don't know the extent of the injuries, but the driver got to be extremely lucky. Man going and just turn across into the part of the truck, and the truck looked like it was doing it, as we say. Let me show you all the back again. He's a lucky man. They say when your time and reach, your time and reach. Your time and reach. All those are things you got to address. Look at this. No. Incident. Look at that incident. The other next one I wanted to show. I wonder if I can find it. I wanted to show another one too. But tell you all of these things are what is causing all the problems on the road. That man in that white car, that man just come and turn across the road like that. Turn across into the part of the car. Into the part of the car, the man turn across. And they're not investigating these things properly, because we say if you're going to investigate those matters, go beyond the actual accident or incident, as you call it. Go to find out if the person had a license, and if so, how did they acquire that license? All them things you got to look at, because that is going to tell you, give you a picture. That is going to give you a picture, and from the picture you get, you will know how to operate. And next thing that you all got to look at, we're talking about the conduct of police ranks. We had the corporal who told the guy that he cross the double white line. But let me say this. I have said this, the markings on the road in Guyana, to a lot of the drivers, is just there for decoration. Those markings are there for decoration. Because they don't know the meaning of those double white line and broken white line and the yields. They don't know the meaning. They don't know. A lot of them don't know. If you were to ask them, they don't know. They think it's there just for decoration. They think it's there for decoration. Right? And then look at this. We talk about training and all that. So we talk about the corporal. Poor boy. Stand up there, are clearly not properly trained. So the man bluffy and so authoritative. Carry on, sir. Carry on, sir. And then look at this one. Look. This goes on all the time.
Move the bus. Move the bus. You want to move on? Y'all just don't wait around. And you then you fucking way. So you want to do. You want to go to your bus. Nigga, I'm taking the we fucking way. Hold me there. You got no. You didn't any man lead. You got move. You still got you want to move. You got wait. I got wait. I got to fuck yourself, man. Hey, don't point up your fucking. Man, no, bro, you can't fuck me. Fuck you. You ain't got to fuck you. You ain't got to. Fuck you. Move your bus. You don't touch me now. I move on. You fucking.
I can't play this again, man. It's unimaginable, you know. This is unimaginable. I can't play it again.
Move up. Move the bus. You want to move on? Y'all just don't wait around. And you then you fucking way. So you want to do. You want to go to your bus. Nigga, I'm taking the we fucking way. Hold me there. You got no. You didn't any man lead. You got move. You still got you want to move. You got wait. I got wait. I got to fuck yourself, man. Hey, don't point up your fucking. Man, no, bro, you can't fuck me. Fuck you. You ain't got to fuck you. You ain't got to. Fuck you. Move your bus. You don't touch me now. I move on. You fucking.
This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable conduct by the driver and the police. Unbelievable conduct. And they're talking about professionalism. They're talking about professionalism. But when I saw this thing, I couldn't believe that a policeman will be behaving like that and that the driver will be allowed to carry on like that. No respect. And as I've said, respect is something that you have to earn. Respect is something that you have to earn because the police cost you, the man cost you, this cost for cost. That is what's going on. And those are the things that they got to address. They have ick in their ear, no, he ate some years. By the way, wonder when he going home. Because we hear they keeping it till election done. Wonder when he going home. Because once he remains there, there is no hope of reforming the force. There is no hope of people behaving in a respectful manner towards the police and that the police behaving in a manner that demands respect. It's your behavior that will demand respect. And we talk about de-escalation and all that, everything there's none. I mean, CC closed already, but I got to bring in to get a piece for him to say something about what we just saw. CC, let me hear you, man. I can't deny you that.
Paul, you know, I listened to it and I was so shocked. It passed reprehensible behavior. And the whole thing is about behavior that they got to address. Behavior is a major phenomenon that the police got to address. Not only the behavior of the criminal, but the behavior of his family, his own behavior. And they're not training them to de-escalate situation, anger management, conflict resolution, and those things they must be embedded in the minds there. That behavior. And that's why I ask all the time, I suggest all the time, have a behavioral science unit in the Guyana Police Force or make it available, a behavioral science unit. We benefited from it when we went to the FBI. And it's not only behavior of the junior ranks, from top to bottom, behavioral science. You got to deal with the police, deal with behavior. And listen to that. Watch that. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my ears. What happened there? In front of the police face, they face off, and then the words they're using, as we say, they're just effing up.
they F it up, and the old force getting F up because of that. Unacceptable behavior. Unacceptable behavior. That is part of the problem. That is part of the problem. And I hope that the government will address all of those things. They have shoot and scoot. Used to be there, the Minister of Home Affairs. I don't know if he's coming back. Ben, waste of time. Waste of time. They got a man, Jerry Govaya, drawing big money as National Security Advisor. Waste of time. All of them are put into position just to show that maybe we have some diversity. They're a waste of time. What have they done to improve the situation in Guyana? They have improved their own situation, many of them. I'm not saying Jerry Govaya and Ben, but many of them have improved their personal situation because they're involved in the old corrupt process. But that is where we are. And that is what people voted for. At least so they say. Because a lot of people said the thing rigged. They vote for it rigged. But as I've said before, everyone who voted for the PPP is either a racist or a person who getting cheese, who eating a food, so they really okay. They either decide, well, I'm going for my own, a panjat, are we own, or you're eating a food and therefore you want to continue to eat your food. So, folks, we have had a long morning. I hope you found it rewarding. The students were there in the classroom as usual. We have so much more to tell you. But, you know, there's a time limit. And we are going to come again on Friday, God's Spray Life, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to bring you more on Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. And let me remind you, to see the numbers are there, Zelle, Cash App, MMG. For those of you who are inclined or in a position to make a contribution to the ongoing effort of this program, please do so. And to thank all those of you who have been making your contribution over the months and so. So, yeah, roads are dangerous. We show you some of the dangers on the road. And well, every day there is something on the road. Every day. They talk about the incidents and accidents. They are accidents on the road. They are road fatalities. So whether the fatalities occur through some incident or an accident, road fatalities, they are road accidents, and it needs to be addressed. And I'm saying that I don't believe that the current composition or the current configuration of the police senior administration can do any or is capable of doing anything about it. So maybe this time around the government will look to make sure that you have competent people and not people who are malleable, people who themselves are corrupt, and people who want to be able to carry out your political instructions and so on, to weaponize the force and to target people who you perceive to be opponents. Folks, we have said a lot. And again, thank you for your attention this morning. Until we meet again, God's willing, bye.